This is Ryan and Michelle, and welcome to the Celebrate Marriage Cast 5-Minute Friday.
Welcome. We are Michelle and Ryan, and we have a special guest back with us today. We have Debbie Wade, who is a licensed professional counselor, licensed marriage and family therapist, and a certified sex therapist and certified sex addiction therapist. Welcome back to our show, Debbie.
Well, thank you for having me again.
Yeah, and I'll throw this little disclaimer out there too. We're going to dive into some deeper level natured context. So if you're a younger listener, it might be time to pause it and just make sure that your parents are in on this conversation and they can give you guidance from there. So Debbie, you have a special 5-Minute Friday, kind of an action point or assignment for our listeners for this weekend. Would you be willing to walk us through that?
Absolutely. I would love to do that.
Awesome.
So can I make a disclaimer?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So I am actually pulling this from a great book that I would recommend the listeners to get this book. It is a book written by Shaunti Feldhahn. And
oh my gosh. I just have to jump in and tell you, because I don't even think you know this. Shaunti is going to be, well, this is going to be a surprise, but she might be on our show in a couple of weeks. Yeah. So this is so exciting.
It is so exciting. Well, she is one of the co-writers of this book with a good friend and mentor of mine, Michael Seitzma.
Awesome.
And the book is Secrets of Sex and Marriage. And it's just a great one. It just helps walk through so many of the misconceptions or the myths or the distortions we've had about sex, or maybe the beliefs that we've had about sex, that like one of the beliefs, often that we hear is frequency of sex, that there's this right number and what we think everybody else is doing that right number except for us. But they really, through their research, have dispelled a lot of the myths. But they approach one topic that I just love, that when we look at interactions in life, we look at them usually in a way that we either show up, we're clueless, we're either critical, or we're curious. And so I love to challenge couples with that, of thinking of, when it comes to sexuality and our interactions sexually, am I really more clueless? Am I more critical? Or am I willing to be curious? And so I would ask couples to do this in two ways. You have to be willing to show up and be honest about yourself, first. When I think about myself, do I think I am more critical, clueless, or curious? And what makes that? What makes me more critical, or why do I think I'm clueless? Or what makes me curious? And then if I am more critical or clueless, is there something I'm willing to do to become more curious? Okay, so that would be step one of that. And then if a couple does feel that they have the vulnerability and the safety in their relationship to be able to ask their spouse, how do you experience me? Do you experience me to be more critical, more clueless, or more curious? And so then the second part of that question, I would ask a couple to say, what do we need from one another that would help us to be more curious? Because curious is how we learn from one another. And certainly our curiosity needs boundaries around it, But I think that's just a good way to be honest about self and how I show up sexually. Do I show up more clueless, critical, or curious? And then that could be a fun topic, maybe over date night. Maybe after you get home, if you don't feel comfortable doing that in a public place.
Sure.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, that's really good. And I would encourage that book is actually really great. I would encourage you to pick it up. I've read it. It's a really great resource.
Awesome. Thank you.
It is a great resource.
Thank you, Debbie, for that. That's such a great springboard for a conversation to just, again, get these conversations going between you and your spouse. So this sounds like a great weekend assignment.
Yeah.
to me. So, Debbie, thank you for joining us on the Celebrate Marriage Cast 5 Minute Friday. And we actually get to have you back for a topic on Tuesday where we are going to talk about pornography. And we're really excited to dive into that topic. So please join us next week for that. And to our listeners, hey, if you don't have a church home, we would love to have you at Celebrate. Please check out our website, celebrate.church. We have our location and service times there. And in the meantime, have a wonderful weekend.